Hey guys, welcome to the Hard Time Strongman podcast. This is 6. I'm here with 7. Today we are training up a better class of man, and we're on lessons learned. Right now, we're going to be talking about winter preparedness for this year. I know we're already about halfway through December. We're already halfway through December, dude.
Yeah, don't talk about it.
What happened?
You know what happened to me the other day? Someone asked me how old Someone asked me how old I was. I was like, I'm like 27. I'm 29. I was like, you just kind of took two off the top, huh? It's like everything's just been a fever dream for a while.
Yeah, it's kind of like how you were trying to do year math and you were off by like 4 years.
Yeah, screw you. Anyway. Yeah. Lessons learned, Winter Preparedness. We did a Dadisode on this a while back.
It was quick.
We talked through some good points. It was a quick episode. But you wanted to do this episode specifically as what have we done in the last year? And what have we seen in the last year that we, want to be better prepared for or against, rather?
Yeah, I almost kind of feel like this is kind of a yearly thing, almost a town hall, AAR. What did we learn? What did we do? What did we, 3 sustains, 3 improves. Yeah, I'm not going to do that kind of garbage, but, screw you, Army. But, I just wanted to take a look at what happened the last year, things we both went through. What can we improve on?
Yeah.
What went well? And just kind of
like we said a lot of like, oh, I'm going to do this year. And it's like, did he actually do that? Like, was that actually a priority over the last year from last winter? So,
and I'll be honest, I don't remember what I said I was going to do, but here we are.
I remember a couple of things I chilled out and I didn't do them, but like I said, we'll talk over it. But yeah, I think this needs to be an ongoing conversation, even if it's not a dedicated episode every single time. Winter is not going away. And just as dads, like this is something that we're going to be harping on our families until we freaking die. So
yeah, I mean,
there's always something. It's to your point, it's like a fighting position. You're always improving.
Yeah, you can always improve it. And it's the same thing with tornado, hurricane season, monsoon season. Like it's ever changing. If there's one thing I've learned living in Indiana, Texas, and Florida is like no 2 tornadoes, no 2 hurricanes, no 2 rainy seasons are ever alike. And just like that, no 2 winters are ever alike. I've been through some brutal winters in Indiana, but I've also been through some mild winters in Indiana. It's whatever God decides to throw your way. And you just got to be prepared for the mild and you need to be prepared for the worst. And I mean, hell, living in Texas, you went through the worst a few years ago.
For me, yes.
Yeah.
Now there's some dudes in Alaska that are just like, yeah, man. I mean, I haven't had power since the 80s, but you're doing great.
Yeah, that Texas snowstorm. Yeah, that was like a spring for us kind of thing.
It was a real doozy. But just the way that we are, we'll never be done. No. You're never done improving. You're never done, fixing something or tinkering or working on something. And for me, at least, like you said, like you take the ups and downs. Like there have been, some winters where it's been just the coldest it's ever been. But dude, I had all my ducks in a row. I was hot inside. I'm like, this is like whatever. I've also had, fairly mild winters while I'm just like, oh, everything sucks and I'm in panic mode. Like, this is not a good time. So, it is on a scale for sure. It's on a spectrum for sure. Yeah.
So this comes down to, like we said, just being prepared for winter emergencies at home and in your vehicle. It's crucial to make sure that you're safe and the well-being of yourself and your loved ones is like priority. So we've got some guidelines for both scenarios, like in your home and in your vehicle. It's really important to be prepared for both. So let's hit home preparedness first, and then we'll hit your vehicle preparedness.
Okay.
So we talk home preparedness. Yes, winterize your home. This is just a maintenance step. This is homesteading 101. Make sure your home is well insulated. Check your windows and doors for drafts and seal them. You can do this with weather stripping. You can do this with caulking. You can do this with, I mean, hell, I've seen people do it with saran wrap and duct tape. They've sealed their windows that way. I mean,
so let's stick on this point for a little bit.
Go for it.
Like you said, this is something that you are constantly observing in your environment, in your home. You are constantly observing every little thing this has to do, with your, what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel. Okay, so if you feel a draft under your back door or on the side of the door when you go to lock it at night, if you see frost creeping up on the corners, or fog starting to creep on the middle top of your windows, this is all stuff that you need to be looking at. Okay, so like you said, you can go to any hardware store, any weed and feed or ranch store, and you can find weatherproofing strips or insulation strips for your doors, for your windows, for your garage doors. Okay. And for a lot of the stuff we talked about a little bit in that last winter episode is you're trying to compartmentalize a lot of things, right? So if you have a central heating and air unit in your home, okay, your house isn't going to be the same over the entire house. So right. A lot of houses do not have insulation above the above the garage. Right? You're not worried about the garage. The garage isn't a living space. So you're kind of sacrificing that area, to keep the rest of, the home more insulated. Okay. Your garage door, the door that from your garage to your home better be well insulated.
Right.
Like if you're thinking about that, if you're dealing with a 0-degree garage, and then you have a 1/2-inch gap underneath the door, where do you think that air is going?
Yeah.
So a little bit of common sense with this stuff. Okay. But, like we said, if you feel a draft on the side or, underneath your doors, that's easy. Weatherproofing is easy. Rip that sucker off, pull the adhesive on the new one, tack it in, you're done. All right. And the stuff doesn't last forever. You should be looking at observing this. You should be inspecting all this stuff for wear and tear. Say the kid's, busting around, he busts something, or the dog scratches something when he's trying to get inside, whatever. I don't care. Time itself will wear down these high friction points, these points that are getting constantly rubbed or compressed over time. They are going to fail. Now, something besides those. Oh, go for it.
I was going to say, and you also mentioned your heating and AC unit. It's definitely important to get your ductwork inspected and your AC and heater unit serviced regularly, yearly, for sure, yearly. Because I can't tell. I mean, in Florida, AC is a must. It is pretty sure it's actually against the law to not have an AC unit down here.
That's going to be against the Geneva Convention.
Hot. I mean, the Geneva Suggestions.
I mean, it's not like, melt the paint off your car hot, but it gets toasty. Yeah. But also, like you said, ductwork. I've lived in homes where the right above the AC unit where it leads into that ductwork, that AC tape has come undone. So if you press on the ductwork a little bit, you have a gap. Like inspect that stuff. Your air filter, for one, you should be changing that on the monthly. Set a timer. You have a phone, right?
Yeah.
But something else I was just going to say about Windows specifically. So if you don't want to go through, because I know it can be an investment, going to the double pane or, the EnviroGlass and whatever to get that better rating.
Windows are expensive.
Yes. Or, if you don't want to do like the, if you can't afford those, or if you don't need to change out the installation on the bottom of the windows, and you're still having a tough time, dude, get some heavy duty curtains.
Yeah.
Because that alone will fix a lot of that issue, or at least, cause a little buffer. It helps. Every little bit helps there.
And I will say, especially if you live in an area where it does get really cold in the winter, you're not going to open up those windows anyway. You're fine with like getting the peel and stick like window sealer stuff to go around the windowsill of the entire window to seal it off. Like, we use that in Indiana. We definitely use that because I don't care how new your house is, gaps will eventually happen. Homes
saran wrap, like you said.
Yes.
Something.
Seal it up, man. It does help. Do that. Do the heavy duty curtains. You are fine. Barring that, have heavy blankets. That's all I'm going to say, man. I grew up on a farm. Heavy blankets, wear heavy clothing. Yes.
Well, something that we did in Oregon, and you know how you look back sometimes, like just like how you grew up, and you're like, oh, I see what you guys did there. Mm-hmm. So like regardless of whatever season, we never set our thermostat over 65. So like looking back, I was like, because like I'll go home now with my family, I'm like, oh. So like I don't know if it's because we were like gas heat or like if my parents got too hot or what, but we literally, it was 65 all year around. And like just part of my home life was like, if you got cold, put on a sweater. Mm-hmm. It was like
same for us.
But like I didn't think anything of it. But now looking back, I'm like, guys, it's like it's so funny. But yeah, I mean, man, buy heavy blankets, get wool blankets, throw on a sweater, not only saving money on gas or electric or whatever, but it's creating another layer. Your first line of defense with any kind of shelter is your clothing. So
yes,
have clothing that makes sense. Something we'll talk about in our in our Fieldcraft shelter episode is clothing. Have a good base layer, man. Base layers go a long way. If you have a decent set base layer, top and bottoms, like you can that gives you a lot of wiggle room.
Yes it does.
So water pipes.
Oh God, yes.
So if you live in a home that has copper pipes, then I recommend throwing that insulation over everything.
God, yes.
Regardless. Because you do not want to have to mess with that headache of your lines freezing, the water expanding, and making a hell of a mess and a headache.
Oh my God. Yes.
Something that we're going to do whenever we build our home is we're going to use PEX tubing on everything because it's flexible. It'll expand. It's great stuff. But outside of, getting the insulating sleeves, outside of, having the covers for outside faucets, I'd say whatever system you have replacement parts like ready. So when we were going through the freeze in 21, I went out with a buddy to help a neighbor who had a busted pipe. And we were able to shut off their water and everything. We had the, whatever the magic key for the, the city line. And we were able to shut it off before it caused any real damage. But when we went to Home Depot to, go get a quick fitting for a shark fitting for it, like Home Depot was swamped with people because everybody's pipes were breaking. So while your pipes aren't broken and you're not in an emergency, stock up on your replacement parts on those fixes. So you don't have to scramble, if and when they do happen. Have that stuff on hand and know how to use it, of course.
Right. And of course, all the tools. Like can't stress that enough. I don't care if you have all the materials necessary. If you don't have the tools, know how to use them, you are screwed. Period. I will say this, one thing that we did on the farm when it got really cold was and I know this is out there, but you leave your water on a slow trickle.
Oh, of course.
9 times out of 10, that's going to prevent the lines from freezing.
So I told the story a while back when we were going through that freeze. Our kitchen faucet froze. It was on a outside wall, right?
Yeah.
And I was telling my old neighbor that, and he said, "Oh, put a candle under the faucet, under the sink, like under the pipe, under the sink." I was like, "Really?" He said, "Yep, go do it. Tell me whenever it melts." And I just threw just a little El Cheapo candle underneath that little U-dip in your sink underneath the, under in that sink cabinet. I just threw a candle under there. Not 5 minutes, and just my it all melted away. It was totally fine.
Huh.
And
yeah, because usually that U-dip is
I turned it down to a drip, and I was fine for the rest of the freeze.
That's weird because I thought the little U-dip was for the outflow to prevent the smell from going back.
It heated everything.
Oh. Well, damn. Okay.
Neat, right?
Yeah, dude.
But it's just
that's crazy.
Those old dude things, man.
Yeah.
Those old guy tricks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like you said, have the tools, know how you use them. I'm looking at you're recording in your garage right now, and I see all of your tools are, hanging up. You have a huge toolbox that's orally labeled, everything. So not only have the tools, know how to use them, have them in a readily accessible and organized space.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what tools you have if you can't get to them, if you don't know where they are.
And I know how to use every single tool that's in that tool chest, period.
Yeah. My dad rant is over on that.
Yes.
Rah, rah, rah.
You didn't know this was going to be a Dadisode, did you? Well, joke's on you. No.
Surprise.
Yeah. Like tools we can't stress that enough, especially in homesteading, is know how to use the tools that you have. I mean, I just got a drill press for reasons. Anyway, and
now that's a Dadisode, I will say don't rent anything. Bye.
Yeah. Unless you,
I hate renting. I hate renting things, especially tools. But I hate renting tools.
I agree, but at the same time, it's just like sometimes you don't have the storage space for them, so you got to rent. I get that.
But if I'm going to use something once, I'm probably going to use it again later.
Maybe, yeah.
And I don't have the heart to get rid of it. Like it's like a firearm. I'll never sell a firearm.
No.
Never. No. Like I couldn't bring myself to do it. That's not something you sell, right?
Right.
However, that farm down the street in the sticks that's having a estate sale because Pop, who is like 89, 102 years old, who has the entire barn full of stuff. Yeah, go raid that. Like,
yes,
like go ahead, spend a couple $100,000 because he has all sorts of stuff and it's in immaculate condition. So,
or at least still works, sort of.
Yeah. The ones that I've been to where it's like a whole barn full of stuff, it's just like everything's oiled, everything's sharp. Mm-hmm. Like the dude was a unit. Anyways, now the data rant is over.
Yeah.
Keep your heating system well maintained. So we talked about, essential heating and air. Okay. Change out your filters. Like you said, make sure your ductwork is solid. If you need to get serviced, get it serviced. Clean those suckers out. Okay. I mean, hell, even your dryer vent, like, clean that sucker out, man. Make sure that goes. That's where half your power is going, probably, because it's never been cleaned before.
Mm-hmm.
Do your due diligence. But something for like people with wood burning stoves or, with fireplaces, get that sucker clean, man.
Clean that flue.
Like that's a fire waiting to happen.
Yes.
Plus, it's not efficient. So something that was frustrating with me, and I talked about a little bit, back with the freeze, was my fireplace is for show. It's not a efficient fireplace.
Right.
Like it'll have a fire, but it doesn't burn efficiently. It doesn't heat the space efficiently. Okay. It's a nice, cool, little extra deal. I cracked every stone right down the middle going up because I had it too hot for too long. Now, something that I can do in my situation is I can go online or go to, certain like, it's more like country ranch type depots. And I'm pretty sure I could find a wood stove insert, like a cast iron wood stove insert that I could throw right in that space, use the same, use the same chute, everything. And that will heat my home.
Yeah.
I could cook off that. That's a generational item. That thing will be there for 100 years. And, but that's my due diligence. I need to do the research. I need to, save up and buy and, do all that. But, whatever system you have, obviously make sure it's well maintained. If you run off, gas and you don't get pumped directly to your home, if you have to store it on site, make sure that sucker's filled right up. If you have like a little buddy heater that's safe to use indoors, have extra of those, propane heaters. If you're relying on propane for heating, for cooking, make sure you have that available. If you're relying on AC, make sure you have contingencies.
Yes.
Whether that's wool blankets, hand warmers galore, sleeping bags. Something that we did was we threw our 1-year-old in a tent in the middle of the living room because it conserved his body heat on his own, and he was fine.
Yep.
But think outside the box a little bit on this stuff. If you have to stay in place. Now, something that we did set up because it was a multi-day thing with our church was we set up warming locations. So we set up our church as a warming location where people who were out of power, who didn't have heating sources, could go, get warm, get a cup of coffee, and, just kind of be on standby. But that's to do with your community and, just getting all of, those gears turning.
Bro, I'm not going to lie. You guys lived like almost the real life version of freaking, wow, God, what was that stupid movie with Jake Gyllenhaal? The one where the freaking world freezes over.
Are you talking about
you know what I'm
after
talking
tomorrow?
About. Yes. That crappy movie.
Gosh. Crappy movie. That was ahead of its time.
It was, but it was also stupid.
It had some really great bits in it, though.
It did.
The hobo stuffing newspaper in his shirt and his clothes as extra installation. I don't know why that stuck with me as a kid.
It did.
And I told my dad, I said, like, I love this part. And we were watching him. Like, this guy's so smart. Like this, he's putting like, and my dad just looked sad. I was like, what? Like, this is a good part. And my dad was like, I hope you never have to use that. And like, that's where my dad's head went. But I was just like, as a kid, I was like, this is freaking cool. Like, who would have thought to use newspaper?
Right.
Like,
it's smart.
It's a
layer.
Yeah, as extra installation. I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
And also another good part of that was where they went and scavenged the ship for medicine. So that actually leads into the next point, which is maintain a well-stocked first aid kit and have all necessary medications on hand. Like, you don't want to be running out of medications that you actually need.
100%. Yep. So if you need, your medication to stay alive, or at least, be a functioning adult person, you need to be having at least a month's supply of that on hand at any given time. So, if you have the automatic refills, spam that sucker online. If you have to call into your mom and pop pharmacy, call them again. I do it as soon as I get my prescription in the mail, I put in the refill. So I can always try to stay at least a month ahead.
As long as it's not a regulated freaking prescription, you should be okay.
Then, you're just kind of screwed.
Yeah, you're definitely screwed on that one.
I will say too, as someone who just loves Tylenol at Costco, or I've never been in Sam's Club, but Sam's Club probably does the same thing. But just get the 500, get the 500 cal sucker, and you'll be good for a while. But I mean, something in a more serious note, was it DuraHealth? We'll make, or Duration Health, not DuraHealth. Duration Health is a company that makes med kits, and basically the idea is you build out this kit with whatever medication you want, or they have the pre-done kits. When you purchase, you get a online, like a virtual visit with a provider, because a lot of stuff they have to be prescribed. Talk about your medical issues, your medical history, doc signs it off, and they send it out to you. So
that's awesome.
That's a good way. So that's a good way to get like Cephalexin and amoxicillin, like I don't remember all the different kits they have, but they have a lot of really great kits. That you can get like EpiPens, like that sort of thing. Obviously, it has to be per your medical history what you actually need. But a lot of guys, if you're planning to go overseas, then they'll make a kit for that for whatever area you're going to. So
yeah,
they have stuff with like anti-malaria pills, like all sorts of stuff. So cool idea to have. They also do AEDs, but like you said, good med kit for, that just a good general kit, but make sure that, like you said, if you need specific medications per specific family members, have that all included. And then backup heating sources. So talked about that a little bit with like the wood burning stove or like the buddy heaters, propane heaters. Something that's really easy to buy, like I said, at Costco, any of those like big wholesale places, hand warmers. Yes. You can get those by the hundreds. And, no, it's not going to sustain you for a long time, but that is very, very helpful. They also have, good deals on like base layers.
Yeah.
Solid base layers, solid, excuse me, solid wool gloves, solid wool socks. So antimicrobial. So, you're not going to, stink up the place. That's moisture wicking. It's, it keeps its thermal qualities in, when they're wet. So if you're hot, it's going to keep your feet cool, or at least going to wick the moisture away. If you're cold, it's going to retain the heat, even if it's wet, which is a huge plus. Love wool. But big thing with like, especially the propane here, is make sure that it is safe for indoor use.
Yes.
Because not all of them are safe for indoor use.
Nope. I know a couple people have actually started a house fire with those.
Not good. Mm-hmm. Not good. An interesting solution I've seen in the overlanding community is buying diesel heaters, little diesel heaters.
Oh, yeah.
And then the idea with that when you're overlanding, right? So you have that on the outside of your vehicle, and then you pump it in, because you can get the insulated like accordion style vents.
Yep.
So it doesn't get hot on the outside, so it won't like burn your tent or burn, or melt anything. But you can pipe that right into your tent, and there's nothing to, the carbon monoxide is already going out outside of the tent or outside of the cab of the vehicle. So you're not worried about that kind of poisoning. And I can only assume that you could do the same thing with your home for obviously compartmentalized areas. You're not trying to heat your entire home off a little diesel heater.
That'd be interesting.
And
probably just a also futile effort.
I was going to say, but it's not like a generator. Same idea. Super easy. What else for alternative? I talked about like a tent. That's a more of a think outside the box kind of idea with compartmentalization and retaining your body heat. You talked about like heavy blankets, having decent clothing. What else?
You could use, if you're really desperate, you can use thermal tape and seal up the room that you're in, or seal up the door to the outside, so that you can keep as much heat in as possible. And that's if like you're really desperate. Because keep in mind, the second you pull that away, it's you run the risk of it not sticking again. So, there's that. There's blankets, like you said, wool gloves. If you really want to find some good base layers, I recommend, if you want good deals on them, check out your Army Navy surplus stores. A lot of times, a lot of times this stuff can be used, but I have gone into my local one and found brand new unused stuff for the same price as the used stuff. So it takes a little time, takes a little patience, but you can find good stuff. And that stuff is warm because it's designed to be used in wartime. And it's going to be good because we never get to frickin' use them when we want to or need to. Another thing that's wrong with the Army. Anyway, this is not a Radisode. Yeah. No, I think you covered everything as far as like the backup stuff. So let's move on to communication. You had a good thing going with your neighbors there with radios.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something that we did almost immediately after the fact, just buying cheap radios. Something that we can use to talk to each other. So not super long distance. Obviously, we live in a cul-de-sac. But also has the capability of, hooking up to the NOAA channels. So you can, listen for weather alerts or emergency alerts. They're nationwide. Those are nice. We just have, little Bayo things, little cheap ham radios, but you could buy, go to Walmart, buy a blister pack of freaking CB radios.
Yep.
You get 4 in a pack, 5 in a pack, and it'll do almost the exact same thing. Obviously, you won't hook up to, like the NOAA channels or anything, but if you just need to check on your neighbors, hey, are you okay? Yeah. Goes a long way instead of having to trudge over, and brave the conditions or, when you could be doing something else. Tell you what, right. I was busy the entire 4 days. Like I was hardly in the house at all because I was either checking on my neighbors, checking on supplies, chopping firewood, your priorities of work shift a lot. So,
yes, there's no time to be lazy when your life and other lives are on the line for that. And you mentioned some of those radios can't really hook into the NOAA channels. So what you can do to actually counteract that is get one of those hand crank or battery powered emergency weather
or solar
radios.
power.
Yeah, or solar power. Yep.
Those are great.
Mine does all 3, which is great. The only thing that was scared the crap out of me was I had it set to auto turn on when there was an alert during hurricane season.
Nice.
Yeah, it woke me up at like 2 a.m. That was
very
fun.
Startling.
Yeah, startling
Something
enough that
I will
grabbed
say,
my gun.
Something that I will say, getting little battery or charging packs.
Yes.
Portable power banks are freaking money.
Yep.
And the sweet thing is you can have one of those in your car right now, hooked up to your, little cigarette lighter, charging over USB all the time. You wouldn't even know it's there. And then if you need it, you have a full power bank. I'd say have one of those in every car, have a couple of those at the house that are charged because they keep it charged for a good while, but absolutely invaluable. That's one of the first things that our buddies did for us when we lost power and they still had power. They gave us a couple of power banks. Nice. And we were able to charge our phones. I mean, huge.
Yeah. I've got that. Huge. I still have that one that I found in Kuwait when we were going into Afghanistan. And I actually have that hooked up to one of my other power banks that's a solar charger. So not only is the solar charger charging, but it's also charging the other power bank. So I've got 2 ready to go no matter what. And those things are clutch when the power goes out. We have not had run into that yet, but, I'm going to knock on wood, but, we haven't had that happen yet, but the potential is there for it to happen. So always stay ready, especially in times like this. Got to have a way to communicate. You got to know what's going on in the outside world. You got to be able to communicate with your neighbors, your family, if something goes wrong. So definitely have those charged. Definitely charge your electronic devices beforehand. If you can, if you have time, if weather's coming in, start charging stuff. Charge stuff, get everything prepped, be ready to go. So have your backups also charged. So like you said, power banks, those are fantastic. I cannot stress those enough. Power banks. Charge your radio batteries. Have them charged ahead of time. I've got 6 sitting in the tool chest right now. Oh. So when we communicate with the outside world, we're looking for emergency contacts. So have a list of all your emergency contacts written down on paper. Don't put it on digits. For this very reason of power going out. Yes, it does not count if it's on your phone.
So something that my parents had when I was growing up is, when, me and my sisters were teenagers, we were more independent and, not everybody was in the house at the same time. They had a little, address book magnet on their fridge. And that had everybody's phone numbers, addresses, everything. So close family members, the emergency contacts for neighbors, the utility company or water company or, whatever, just everything that you would need right there. So, if, dad was out driving to work and, we couldn't get a hold of him, then we had the number for his work with his extension to his office. Have all the stuff, like you said, written down ahead of time, make sure that everybody in the family knows where it is. And, it kind of leads into having an emergency plan. Right. So first off, you need an emergency plan. So create an emergency plan. Make sure all of your family members are up to date on that. Everybody knows what everybody else needs to do. So if it's somebody's job to go check on the animals, that person can go check on the animals. You know where everybody is going, what everybody's going to do, and you have a good way to communicate with everybody. But if you don't have a plan, if you don't practice the plan, then you're wasting all that time trying to figure that out. Or, even worse consequences are going to happen because you don't have a plan set in place.
One other thing you definitely need to have in place is, so what do you do if like the worst happens? Somebody gets injured. That's got to be part of your emergency plan too. How are you going to get to the hospital? What happens if you're snowed in? How are you going to get to the hospital? You got to have a plan for that.
What happens if you're at home, your wife's at work, and your kid's at school, and then all of the cell towers go down? And it's in the middle of the day.
Oof.
What's the plan?
Oof.
Does everybody know the plan? Where do you meet? Do you go to your wife? Do you go to your child? Does your wife go to your child? Because you can see how, does your child go home? Because if everybody does that, then you're going to be chasing each other's tails.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll never meet up.
Yep.
So what do you do? If you don't have that figured out, then, that's a very real possibility. And if that's stretched out over, a good 20, 30 minute drive, think about that when the road conditions are trash.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good way. So
that brings us into our vehicle preparedness. I mean, this is just while it's at home. We'll go into a little bit more detail on this, but ensure your car is in good working condition, especially the battery, the tires, brakes, and the big thing, your antifreeze.
It'd be really great if someone did an episode on,
car maintenance,
scheduled maintenance on a vehicle.
Yeah, it's coming because a lot of people out there don't know how to do that or what they should be looking for.
Hell, man, even just wiper fluid.
Yeah.
I make sure that both vehicles have 4-season wiper fluid with Rain-X in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that way it won't freeze.
Yep. That's all I put in our vehicles now is that Rain-X stuff.
But, like you said, make sure all your fluids are good. Make sure that your tires are solid. They're not worn down. They're, they all have, decent pressure. Your battery, how old is your battery? For one, in the cold in winter, that thing's going to, start wearing down more.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to be aware of. If you think that you're good because you have a portable charger or you have a power bank in your car that's been in your car all year and you haven't checked on it and it's been cold for a couple months now, that's something you need to check.
There are those battery maintainer things.
Yeah.
I feel like those would be really good for the winters months.
Yeah, I've seen those. That just has to go back to, you checking your stuff. Right. And I'm glad you put this bullet in here, keeping your gas tank at least half full. Yep. That should be an SOP just all the time, regardless of what season.
Correct. Especially during
a good gold standard period is to never dip below half a tank, because half a tank will get you where you need to go in an emergency.
Yep.
But don't be running to E and then running to find a gas station. Like, that's not smart. It's not a smart way to live.
Because either you're not going to get there or you're going to run into every other Tom, Dick, and Harry who's doing the same thing. So, and they may be out of gas when you get there. So,
I was going to say, everyone's trying to fill up their styrofoam coolers with gasoline for the ride home.
They're plastic bags. Yeah. No. So the reason that you do that is not only so that you can make sure you get someplace, but it also prevents the lines from freezing. And that is a very real possibility. It has to get pretty freaking cold, but it is a possibility.
Right. Quick tangent on that. Talking about freezing. So if you have a lawnmower, if you have a chainsaw, if you have anything that, is gas powered, you need to winterize that as well as part of your home preparedness.
Yes. Yep. Also, if you live in an area where there's a very real possibility of the roads being pretty bad, equip your vehicle with winter tires or
the very least tire chains.
Yes.
Have tire chains in your trunk.
And check those tire chains. I mean, most of them are
and don't just let the tire
decades,
chains live in your trunk. Like, put them on at least once. Like, put them on at least once. So one, so they'll fit. Two, so you know how to do it. Instead of trying to figure out why your hands are numb.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Let's get into the actual vehicle itself. So when you're out driving around, you want this stuff in your car. It's a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I recommend having them because, dude, you never know what you're going to run into, especially with snow and ice, sleet, whatever, what have you on the road. It can be pretty harrowing. I've been through quite a few snows in my time, and it's rough. If you have to get out, it's pretty rough. So first thing above all else, have an emergency kit. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about blankets, sleeping bags, warm clothing, waterproof layers, non-perishable snacks, and water. Yes, I know water freezes, but if it's inside your car, chances are your heat's going to be on, so it's probably not going to freeze for a while.
So
even if you have to park outside.
So water is a little sketchy for me in a car because I've had days like when I was in high school where, I'd, park, go inside, have my school day, come back, and my water exploded in my cup holder.
Oh.
Because it just froze in the time that I was gone. So I'm a little on water. So during months where you're not worried about it freezing, yes, 100%. I would say in where you're worried about freezing and, destroying things or, obviously just not working for you, have your ways to purify water and containers. So
one thing you can actually
empty hard, containers for water, and then have like aqua tabs or Sawyer filter or ways to make fire, obviously, which, is on your list. You should have that already that you can melt in there and boil and do your thing. But
one thing you could do is actually to counteract that, get one of those like little thermal coolers. So I know what
you're talking about, the vacuum sealed. Yeah.
Well, double walled. Like I've got, double walled. I've got like an Uber Eats thermal little carry-all thing. I would have no problem putting that in the trunk of a car with a bunch of water in it and not worrying about them freezing over. At the very least, they'll be cold, but they wouldn't be like frozen.
Well, and something else, even if it does freeze, if you have it only like halfway full.
Yeah, it won't.
You might be able to have enough expansion where you're not worried about it. But that, just be wary. Right.
So also, a flashlight with extra batteries. This is also something you need in your home. We have, I probably want to say like 5 freaking flashlights.
Do you have the drawer in your kitchen?
Well, yes, but we have what's called a battery daddy. And it is, hang on, I'll grab it.
Neat. So for everyone who's listening, the drawer is the drawer in your kitchen where it has the plastic bags, the extra batteries, the
junk drawer.
Yeah, the it's just called the drawer. Don't be rude.
I mean, that's what it is.
The matches, the bread bag ties, all that stuff. That's what I meant by the drawer.
So anyways, continue. Is a nice little case.
That's cool.
That keeps all of your batteries like organized.
Send me that link, please.
Yeah. It even
is nice.
It even has in it a little battery tester that actually works. I'm not even joking. It actually freaking works.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll send this to you.
So I know you guys can't see it, but it has individual pockets for like individually sized batteries. So he's got like 30 AAAs in there, and they're all in their individual little caddy. So they're not just all freaking jumbling around. That is cool.
But it's even better.
Battery
you can store
daddy.
D's,
I never thought I would say
C's,
those two words like one after the other. Interesting.
So yeah, you can store D's, C's, AA, AAA, 9 volts. I've even got
1, 2, 3s.
Crap ton of these LR44s. The little batteries using
1,
like
2,
the
3s,
small little
2032s.
Yeah. Yep. I got a little pocket for those in here.
Neat.
I mean, hell, there's so much storage that you flip it over. Oh, you need AA's? Well, here's more. The entire backside.
Dude, no
of it.
way.
Yes.
That's wild.
You can store crap ton of those. I think we got them at Costco, but I can't remember. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'll find one. Send you the link.
Jumper cables. Every vehicle.
Jumper cables.
Every vehicle you own needs jumper cables, needs tire chains, needs a big wool blanket,
first aid kit.
I don't know what else to tell you. The more you get into it, the more the more prepared you are, the more happier you can be. I know that a lot of people are living on space, but if you're living freaking Wisconsin, outside of your general kitty litter or general kitty litter, have a shovel, have max tracks. I mean, there's so many cool things now that we didn't used to have.
Yes.
Like if you can fit it, if you have an SUV or a truck, dude, throw max tracks on there, man.
Yes.
Like give me a freaking break. Like road flares. Buy a 6-pack of road flares, throw it in a bag. Like
yes. At the very least, reflective triangles. A tow rope. Dude, just get a tow rope. Just for any season, tow rope. Come on.
Even if you don't have a winch, someone else might have a winch that you can use.
Yeah.
And if they're, their tow rope breaks or, just need extra leverage or there's multiple vehicles, what have you, fill in the blank. It's just nice to have. It doesn't cost a lot of space. And like we talked about in earlier episodes, think of your car as just a giant beast of burden. Like it can carry a stupid amount of weight. You're not using your entire trunk. Throw a good sized ruck in there and you'll have all this stuff down pat.
Right.
Something I will say, just a secondary consideration for the windshield, because I've seen a lot of really cool things for that isn't a huge time suck, like waiting for your whole windshield to defrost. I've seen guys I've at least heard of guys putting kitty litter in socks, like old socks, and putting it up against the windshield in the cab, and it prevents it from freezing over. Something that we have is
interesting.
Yeah. I haven't done it myself yet. I want to try it out, but I've heard good things about that. Something that I do have though is a cover for my windshield for both the vehicles.
Yes.
You lay that down. It hooks onto both of your mirrors, and you actually lock it into the windows, just so no one steals it. But that cover, when it's going to freeze, pull that off and your windshield is totally fine. You don't have to defrost it, anything.
Yeah.
Completely protects it.
Seen those are awesome.
Night and day difference. It's amazing.
Yeah. Threw a shovel on there just in case you have to dig yourself out. Shovels can take up, they're big. So at the very least, just get yourself a little e-tool, because you never know when you're going to have to dig yourself out of something.
Or a little gardening shovel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A little D-handle. Those aren't big.
No.
And you get some good leverage on those.
Size. Yeah, I've got freaking huge shovels. I'm not going to throw those in my trunk. I'll bring my e-tool though.
Yeah. But like you can buy, a tub of kitty litter or fill a sandbag, and that'll give you the traction you need.
Yeah.
If you get stuck somewhere, I will say you need to have tire chains. You need to have tire chains.
Yeah.
Period.
It is funny.
Vehicles, it doesn't matter.
I've never run into the instance where I've actually had to take the kitty litter out and pour it on the ground. Just having it in the trunk has been more than enough to get me the traction I need to get out. Not even joking.
So I used to have a 94 Toyota pickup. And my dad used to fill 2 huge sandbags, like 2 landscaping sandbags, and he'd throw it in the back up on the wheel wells and
never got
all
stuck
day anywhere.
Yep.
Never got stuck. Not even once. I fishtailed one time. And I slowed down a little bit. I immediately caught traction. I was like, huh. The old guy knows what he's doing. I don't know. Probably because he freaking grew up in Wisconsin, where they literally had to tunnel themselves out of their front door through snow to get to school in the morning.
Yeah.
Any hoozle. Yep. Communication devices. It's just a reiteration of what we talked about last time. Okay. Yep. Have a charger in your car. Have a USB charger in your car. Every time you get in your car, you should plug it in. It should just be a habit at this point.
Yep.
And then having secondary and tertiary modes of communication. So having a CB radio is a really good idea for a vehicle, because what do truckers rely on, right? Having, you can even buy CB radios that can, that can access the NOAA, the NOAA channels for your weather alerts, all that sort of stuff.
And I'll actually throw in the radio channels for those for the continental United States, so that if you do have a radio that can tune that, you can I'll include that so you can tune it into that.
Okay. Besides him reading off, this will be in the show notes. All the links that we have will give to you guys.
Any and all. We're gonna go ridiculous on this. So yeah, I mean, best case scenario, you have a CB radio, you have your fully charged cell phone. If you want to grab like a cheap pack of Baofangs or something, at the very least, that'll allow you to connect to your local repeaters, or even like worst case scenario, the non-emergency law enforcement channel. So if you have problems, then like you can radio in there. Definitely, above all else, don't get on their actual frequencies and talk to them, because that's was that an FAA violation, FCC violation?
I mean, a federal offense. Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
You have a point here about weather monitoring. So stay informed about the local weather conditions before you travel. I'd go as far as to say you should be checking this every day when you get up. You need to make this part of your routine. What the weather's going to look like in your area if you're traveling, where you're traveling to. This just needs to take 5 minutes out of your day and, check the weather. This should just be what you do as an adult before you even get dressed in the morning. So you know what to prepare for.
And definitely you got to make it a habit too of, like, before you even leave, check the weather, because down here things can change in a matter of seconds. So I'm trying to make that more of a habit now. Before I even step out the door, I have to check the weather to be like, am I walking into a freaking hurricane, or am I going to get sunny skies? You never know with Florida. You just never know.
Florida doesn't know. How can you be
not even Florida? I mean, not even God knows what's going to happen in Florida. Oh. So we're talking about driving. We're talking about driving in the winter. It varies from state to state, but generally, just drive cautiously, reduce your speed, increase your following distances in icy or snowy conditions. It takes...
Say it again for the Texans, please.
Yeah, for the Texans and all the Northerners.
The Northerners know how to drive in snow.
I'm from the North. I've seen the way people drive. I don't know about that. I will say that the people in Texas are freaking unable to drive on any light dusting of snow, period. And it's hilarious.
So my issue with Texas drivers is, so I've talked about this before. If rain happens while someone's on the road in Texas, it's not their fault. They forget how to drive. It's like an amnesiac. They just get really confused, and that's not fair for me to get mad at. That's what are they going to do? They forget. Now in the snow, Texans are just amazed that it happened. So they don't even think about driving any differently. They're like, holy crap, this is great. And they're just looking around and they're wow, this is amazing. And they're going 80 miles an hour down the freeway. It's like, this is awesome. And, then we have issues. But
you're not wrong.
Talking about driving cautiously. Okay. This takes a little bit of knowledge of your vehicle. Are you in an all-wheel drive vehicle? Front-wheel drive? Rear-wheel drive? Understand your vehicle, what your transmission looks like so you can drive accordingly. Okay, like we talked about, if you have a front-wheel drive, throw some weight in the back. Get those tires down so that you have the traction you need.
So from what I can remember on driving on some of these crap roads, on dry pavement, if you're traveling at a speed of 35 miles an hour, it's going to take you 60 to 100 feet to come to a stop on dry pavement. On snowpack streets, you're looking at double that. Easily double that. And if it's icy, 600 feet.
Well, think about it this way. If I'd say what I would tell my kids, okay, they're not quite to driving age yet, but what I would tell my kids is,
no, that just means that I'm ancient.
Yeah, right. Whatever your follow distance for a car is, and when I was learning how to drive, it was, pick a landmark. So like a pole, like a phone pole, a telephone pole or a light pole. And then after the vehicle you're following passes it, count how many seconds it takes for you to get to that point. That's your follow. That's when I was first learning, but you can eyeball it.
Mm-hmm.
You get used to driving everything, right? But whatever your normal driving, your follow distance is for vehicles in good conditions, if you're uncomfortable or if you're worried about your driving conditions, say if it's raining or foggy or snowing or icy, double it.
Yep.
Good rule of thumb. And because the thing is, not everyone has to be used to driving in crappy conditions.
Right.
I grew up in Oregon. It's dark most of the year. I've learned how to drive in crappy conditions. That's just part of life there. But not everybody has to do that. Right? So you don't have to be expected to drive as fast as everybody else. If you're not comfortable, slow down.
Yes.
Right?
Say it again.
That should be common knowledge. If you're not comfortable, slow down. Make it safe for everybody else. And like you said, the conditions are going to dictate how quickly or how much time it takes for you to stop. Right? So if it's raining or snowing, the roads are going to be slick.
Right.
Okay. Especially if you're on non-maintained roads. Oh,
God.
So if you're on a back road or FM or a county road or whatever, expect that, that sand truck isn't going to, or that salt truck isn't going to make the rounds out to you. Okay. So if you have places, so let's say it's, ice snow conditions, right? If you're in a place where, that you're, a part of the road's going to be in shadow for most of the day, you can probably expect that to still be frozen or there'd be ice there, right? If you're driving over a bridge, there's no insulation. You could expect there to be ice buildup on that bridge.
Yep.
Okay. If there's normally, like dips in the road where there's, runoff of water in the rain, you expect that to be ice. I mean, use your head with a lot of this stuff. Don't be doing crazy turns or going super fast or whatever. If you do start to slide, steer into it. Don't slam on your brakes. Take your foot off the gas and turn into it.
Yeah.
Your vehicle will naturally correct.
Yeah.
If you're hydroplaning, in rain condition, let off the accelerator. Don't slam on the brakes.
Yeah. Above all
You're
else,
only going to slide.
Do not brake. Just take your foot off the gas. The car will naturally slow down.
Well, the thing is, your car's way too. So especially when you're hydroplaning, you've let off the accelerator, you're going to drop.
Yeah.
You get your traction again. Don't slam on the freaking brake. Right. If you're, even if your tires are spinning quickly, those treads are still catching at least a little bit. if you slam on the brakes, you're not catching anything.
Correct. You just took away all your traction by doing that.
Just not smart.
Oh, God, the bane of my existence, black ice. It's so hard to actually see this stuff, but you just got to be very wary, especially if you're going over bridges, overpasses, stuff like that. There can be black ice on that more often than on just like
I was
the
gonna
roads.
say it's called black ice for a reason.
It looks like
My
pavement.
biggest thing with black ice is, a lot of the time people kind of check out when they go on their commute, when they're driving, they just go on autopilot. In any kind of weather or any kind of conditions that aren't favorable for driving, make driving a engaged task again.
Yes.
Like you need to be there totally. Like,
don't be on your phones.
Keep up your situation. Yeah. Or anything, like even if you're just like, if you're driving home from work and you're normal, like, oh, think about, oh, I'm going to eat, or, oh, the kids are doing this, or, oh, that's, no, get out of that. You're driving. You're pulling around a 2,000 pound death machine. Like, act like it.
More than that. Yeah. I'm guilty of doing that. Like, dude, driving can be boring, but at the same time, I've got to learn that it's Florida, and driving around here is an adventure in itself because people are insane down here. Mainly because we have the freaking
like even all
Northerners.
that. I mean, I have to drive an hour one way, or an hour, 2 hour drives.
Yeah.
Hour one way every single day for work. So yeah, I'll have a podcast on. I'll be, one hand on the steering wheel, hanging out, lean back, doing my thing, because I do it every single day. If I have weather, my seat's up, I got both hands on the wheel, my podcaster music is turned down, and I'm paying attention because you're in charge of that vehicle. If you have to react, and if you're lackadaisical, or if you're reacting super hard, you're going to overcorrect and cause more damage. So, be engaged, have a high level of awareness when you're are going to have worse conditions where you're driving. And then planning ahead. So if you have to travel anywhere, so even if just going to work, right? Make sure somebody is aware of your travel plans.
Yep.
If you have to stop for gas, hey, I stopped for gas. My ETA is going to be a little bit different now. Or, whatever. But make sure that people are aware of where you are, where you're going, in a general time frame, so that they can check in on you if need be.
What?
Like we talked about checking the weather.
Yep.
Yeah, Gawa. Thank you. Exactly. I mean, it transfers over completely, right? And this is the kind of thing where, the lines blur a lot. But checking the weather before you go. What kind of weather am I, driving? What kind of weather am I driving to? And then, just doing your normal PCCs, PCI stuff. Kick your tires. Make sure you're up on gas. Make sure you have your emergency kit, your communication stuff, your, whatever. ABC, go down the list.
Make a list, check it twice.
But you just, regardless, always remember that preparation is key. Giving yourself the most informed, giving yourself the best chance at a good outcome, preparing everything, researching everything. It's no different than what everyone does, right? You're giving yourself the best chance of a good outcome, especially when the weather can be, inclement or working against you. It's a hell of a lot better than you.
Correct. And like we say about a lot of our, like we said it in a lot of our homesteading stuff and sustainability stuff, is review and update your emergency supplies. If stuff's expired, swap it out. Make sure everything's in good conditions, and also make sure it meets your family's needs. So if you have a growing family, update that stuff. It's going to change.
And not just one vehicle.
Correct.
You can't count on always riding one vehicle. Mm-hmm. Your spouse better have the same stuff you do.
Correct.
That's just part of your family planning.
Yep. If you have 2 times the vehicles, you need 2 times the supplies. It's just how it works.
It's more expensive. Life's hard. Wear a helmet. It's part of being a responsible adult. So
yep.
With all that said, guys, that was our lessons learned. Quick overview again of preparing for winter. Did you have any big aha moments, big lessons learned this year as we prepare for another winter of illness and death, as our White House so politely warned us of?
So once again, I still have not gotten the COVID boosters because, I actually want my heart to function. No, man, like aside from, dude, cold weather crept up on us. It wasn't cold for a while on here. So now I'm just like, well, crap, I really need to stock up on wood. And then I did. So yeah, I'm good. No, the only aha moment it was is just, hey, just stock up on wood ahead of time. Even if you don't think it's going to be that cold, grab it because you never know. Yep. What about you?
Something else. Just like you said, taking things as they come. So like we were at it was a little bit of hit to the pocketbook, but we were at Costco a while back, and we stocked on base layers for everybody. Mm-hmm. That's stuff that everybody either out. For me and my wife, we use it, we outuse it. It gets worn down. For our boys, they grow out of it. But this is stuff that we're going to need regardless. Something that I was doing a lot when we were in that initial push of preparing was buying something every time we went to the grocery store, just a little thing. Yeah. So you don't have to have that huge knock to the, to the grocery bill, but just doing something. Something I did was, buy another like 50-pound bag of the charcoal. Yeah. Just the big bulk charcoal stuff, because that's really good at putting out heat. But also every time I went to the grocery store, I bought one of those like processed chemical, like cancer causing logs that burn for like 5 or 8 hours.
Oh, the Duraflame ones?
Yeah. Because I'm like, it's not optimal, but I know it's going to burn.
I mean, emergency situation.
That's something to throw on. I mean, it's going to throw something I can throw on at night, so I don't have to worry about it going out. Right. So it's just a little something every little time.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, and then the only other thing I did was I changed the way that I stack wood. So instead of doing like the normal rows or towers, I make a whole house on.
Right.
I've had pretty good effect with that. I like that a lot more. It's probably how I'm going to stack wood from now on.
Yeah, that crazy,
honestly,
that crazy stack. You should throw that back up on Instagram too, so people know what you're talking about.
I'll throw it back on again whenever we do the episode, but it seasons all the wood all at once, which is really nice. And I don't have to worry about the inside because the inside is protected. So at least one side is going to be dry and not frozen. Correct. So that's pretty cool.
No, that's great. Well, guys, this has been Hard Time Strongmen Podcast. Preparation for the winter 2023-2024. Lessons learned from this past year. Thank you guys for joining us. If you're still here, please check out our Discord. Please check out our Patreon. We are still working on everything. Join us in conversations. It's been the Hard Time Strongman Podcast. Training up a better class of men. Stay in the fight.
Hey guys, this is 6 and 7 with the Hard Time Strongman Podcast. Wanted to take a second to do a mental health check-in and to tell you all about the 988 Crisis Lifeline. So the 988 Lifeline is a national network of local crisis centers that provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the United States. You can reach the Lifeline at 988lifeline.org, or you can call or text 988 to get help, to get someone real on the phone.
Every struggle is different. Every struggle is hard. But you are not alone in whatever you're going through. As someone who has used the 988 crisis line, I fully recommend that if you're feeling any of those feelings of depression, suicide, hopelessness, get in touch with them immediately. They will help you. They will listen to you.
Once again, guys, you can reach the Lifeline at 988lifeline.org, or you can call or text them at 988. As always, guys, stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight.